Hi there everyone, this is Dan Dix here reporting for Press for Truth, and the people of Sri Lanka have absolutely reached their breaking point. As you can see from the opening clip there, they've just stormed the presidential palace. Now of course this has been culminating for years. This has been a toxic soup that's been brewing for quite some time. Namely, they've been borrowing at insane amounts and amassing a lot of debt and just continuing to borrow more in order to deal with debt. They are importing more than they are exporting, but probably one of the biggest factors that has led to this the complete destruction and everybody completely uprising over there was the fact that their government has forced their over a couple of million farmers to switch to being completely 100% organic in the fight against climate change, and this has seen catastrophic results. You couple that with the fact that they too are dealing with inflation, but it's a lot worse than what we've been dealing with. They've seen prices of goods and services triple in just the last couple of months. So indeed, this is should be a stark warning sign to everybody out there about what may be soon coming down the pike. So today I wanted to share with you this article here. In Sri Lanka, organic farming went catastrophically wrong. A nationwide experiment is abandoned after producing only misery. But really, is it just an experiment that's being abandoned, or was this a blueprint? Was this something that was tried and maybe soon coming to the West? Well, as you'll see, we already know the Dutch farmers in the Netherlands are having a huge uprising because of the climate change action to cut nitrogen emissions. As I posted in this video, let's grow! Farmers are uprising globally in the fight for food freedom. Farmers are protesting all across the Netherlands against the government's plan to curb nitrogen emissions. But my friends, this is not just centralized to Sri Lanka and the Netherlands, but this is in fact coming to Canada. We're going to take a look at this as well. Trudeau's nitrogen policy will decimate Canadian farming, much like the Netherlands. Justin Trudeau is bringing in a nitrogen emissions cap that will absolutely decimate Canadian farming. So we're going to look at all that, guys. Also, as I'm sure you're probably already aware, you got the likes of the World Economic Forum saying stuff like this: we need to give insects the role that they deserve in our food system. Not only them, you got the likes of Bill Gates also claiming that all rich nations should shift entirely to synthetic beef. And well, perhaps not so coincidentally enough, he just happens to own a lot of the synthetic beef companies that he suggests people push to. But here's the thing, guys, it's not just these techies and these economists who are saying you need to start eating insects and you got to start worrying about synthetic beef and you got to consume less meat, but it's also religious leaders like the Pope, the head of the Catholic Church, who is falling for this man-made climate hoax and is now suggesting the exact same thing. As we see here, Pope tells young people eating meat is part of a self-destructive trend. Pope Francis is asking young people to eat less meat in a bid to take better care of the environment, guys. So we're going to talk about all of that and much more in this video. But just before we do, I'd ask that you check me out right here at pressfortruth.ca/donate if you appreciate my efforts to bring you this info. Here's where you can do a one-time donation with PayPal. You can do Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies. You can join me on Subscribestar, which is a great way to contribute a monthly reoccurring contribution. You also can do that right here on my website, a reoccurring contribution. I also accept e-transfers to dan@pressfortruth.ca, or if you prefer to keep things old school, you can send stuff to my P.O. box. Again, links for all of this are located in the description below. Thank you so much to anybody who does take the time to support my efforts to bring you this info. All right, guys, let's start with this. Speaking about, you know, technology and food, look at this MIT article I just came across here that says edits to cholesterol genes could stop the biggest killer on Earth. In a first, a patent in New Zealand, has undergone gene editing to lower their cholesterol. It could be the beginning of a new era in disease prevention. A volunteer in New Zealand has become the first person to undergo DNA editing in order to lower their blood cholesterol, a step that may foreshadow wide use of the technology to prevent heart attacks. The experiment, part of a clinical trial by the US biotechnology company Verve Therapeutics, involved injecting a version of the gene editing tool CRISPR in order to modify a single letter of DNA in the patient's liver cells. Yeah, no, I don't foresee any problems coming with that, messing with humans' DNA, you know, as a way to deal with our health and food issues. Maybe we ought to look beyond the technology, and when talking about the Pope, perhaps we should be looking to the creator of the universe when it comes to, you know, what foods should and shouldn't, you know, be eaten, which is interesting that the Pope would be getting into this, all under the guise of the biggest hoax there is being perpetuated on mankind right now, is this, first of all, notion that climate change is man-made, but second of all, that there's heavy overpopulation. Folks, the Lord said, go forth and multiply. There are room for billions and billions upon billions of more people on this planet. There are plenty of resources, plenty of food, plenty of water. Our ability to extract fresh water withdrawals increases exponentially as the population increases. So there's really not an issue there. So the fact that the Pope would chime in on this on the basis of saving the planet is absolutely nonsense, when he should be looking to the Creator, looking to the Bible. In case you didn't know, Jesus himself ate or recommended, I think it's about 9 different foods in the Bible. I was just looking at some of it up, namely some of those are eggs. You know, Jesus suggested to people that eggs are healthy and good for giving to children. You know, this has been debated amongst doctors and physicians over the years. It's gone up and down whether it's good or not. Really, they should have just been looking at the Bible the whole time. What else did he eat? He ate butter, which is, you know, again, being debated amongst the doctors as to whether or not it's good for you. But hey, if Jesus ate it, I'm thinking it's probably something I should be eating too. He also consumed honey. Honey has a lot of very interesting aspects to it. You know, it's apparently incapable of holding on to a virus of any kind. It's also will never ever go bad. I don't know if you knew that. If you have some honey, you add it in a jar, like 1,000 years later, you can still eat it. It may have crystallized at that point, but you could just heat it up and still eat it. But a lot of the other foods that Jesus ate were things like, you know, bread and salt and figs, but he also ate fish. Not only that, he also ate lamb. You know, during the Passover meal, he took part in a meal with lamb. Not only that, Jesus himself recommended veal. Yeah, a baby cow. In the story of the prodigal son, the Lord suggested to the father, loud truck, suggested to the father that he welcome back his son by celebrating and killing the fatted calf. Literally, a baby cow is what the Lord himself was recommending someone eat. Just wanted to bring that to your attention, because I know the Pope is currently saying that this is being done for environmental purposes, but really, when the Lord said, go forth and multiply, and all those who, you know, seek after him will be taken care of, he meant it. So I don't think we need to be listening to the Pope on this particular matter. And you know, when he was first announced that he was going to be the newly selected Pope, that was back on March 13th, 2013, and I remember going live right then and there. I didn't even know who it was going to be or what his speech was going to be, but as you see here, he gained the papacy on March 13th, 2013, and on that exact same day, March 13th, 2013, I went to my YouTube channel, and I in an impromptu live, I didn't know who he was going to be or what he was going to say, but I listened to his speech, and then I reacted to it right then and there, and I explained that I think this is the guy who's going to be tasked with bringing about an ecumenical movement across the entire planet, uniting the religions of the world. And what better of a cause than the global climate crisis, because global problems require global solutions, right? So I called it almost a decade ago when he came in, and I'm just seeing all the things unfold right before my very eyes right now. So I wanted to bring that to your attention, but the most important part of today's video, not just what Bill Gates is doing, not what the World Economic Forum is doing, but what these governments are doing to completely bring people to their breaking point when it comes to manipulating their food. So let's take a look at this article here on Sri Lanka's organic farming that went catastrophically wrong. Faced with a deepening economic and humanitarian crisis, Sri Lanka called off an ill-conceived national experiment in organic agriculture this winter. Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa promised in the 2019 election campaign to transition the country's farmers to organic agriculture over a period of 10 years. So last April, his government made good on that promise, imposing a nationwide ban on the importation and the use of synthetic fertilizers and pesticides, and ordering the country's 2 million farmers to go organic. The results was brutal and swift. Against claims that organic methods can produce comparable yields to conventional farming, domestic rice production fell 20% in just the first 6 months. Sri Lanka, long self-sufficient in rice production, has been forced to import $450 million worth of rice, even as domestic prices for the staple of the national diet surged by 50%. The ban also devastated the nation's tea crops, its primary export and sources of foreign exchange. And if you don't think that this is all being done by design, you better think again. And if you don't think it can come here, again, you better think again. I mean, we're already seeing what's happening with the reduction in nitrogen with the farmers in the Netherlands, but in case you didn't know, the exact same thing is slated for Canadians. As Kian Bexty here of the Countersignal reports, Trudeau's nitrogen policy will decimate Canadian farming. In December of 2020, the Trudeau government unveiled their new climate plan with a focus on reducing nitrous oxide emissions from fertilizer by 30%. Below 2020 levels by 2030. Fertilizers play a major role in the agriculture sector's success and have contributed to record harvests in the last decade. They've helped drive increases in Canadian crop yields, grain sales, and exports. A news release from Agricultural and Agri-Food Canada reads, however, nitrous oxide emissions, particularly those associated with synthetic nitrogen fertilizer use, have also grown significantly. That is why the Government of Canada has set the National Fertilizer Emissions Reduction Target, which is part of the commitment to reduce total GHS emissions in Canada by 40 to 45% by 2030. This is a tacit admission that any attempt to lower emissions by reducing nitrogen fertilizer will consequently lower crop yields over the next decade, hurting the agriculture sector and, more importantly, hurting farmers. And indeed, according to a report from Fertilizer Canada, total emissions reductions puts a cap on the total emissions allowable from 30% below 2020 levels. And as the yield of Canadian crops is directly linked to proper fertilizer application, this creates a ceiling on Canadian agriculture productivity well below 2020 levels. It's estimated that 30% absolute emission reduction for a farmer with 1,000 acres, for example, of canola and 1,000 acres of wheat stands to have their profit reduced by approximately $38,000 to $40,000 annually. In 2020, Western Canada farmers planted approximately 20.8 million acres of canola. Using these values, cumulatively, farm revenues from canola could be reduced by $396 to $441 million on an annual basis. Wheat farmers could experience a reduction of $400 100 million. Moreover, Fertilizer Canada doesn't even believe that forcefully decreasing fertilizer use will even lower greenhouse gases, but could actually lead to carbon leakage elsewhere. Nonetheless, Trudeau's government is moving forward with farmers groups and speaking to farmers forums, now wondering if he's intentionally trying to cause a food shortage, which Trudeau previously told Canadians that they need to prepare for. We've seen from the global pandemic to the war in Ukraine, significant disruptions of supply chains around the world, which is resulting in higher prices for consumers in democracies like ours, and resulting in significant shortages and projected shortages of food and energy in places around the world. He said, "This is going to be a difficult time," he continued, "because of the war, because of the recovery from the pandemic, and Canadians will do what we always do, we'll be there for each other." Of course, reducing nitrogen emissions realized by fertilizer, crucial to the survivability of the agricultural sector, isn't the only target of Trudeau's government, but every part of the economy has been negatively impacted by Trudeau's climate change agenda. And I would absolutely agree. I'm going to put a link to this well put together article in the description below, guys, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention that, as I said, it's not just, you know, localized to Sri Lanka and the Netherlands, and it is indeed coming soon to Canada, something we need to pay close attention to. Also, never forget, overpopulation is a myth. Man-made climate change is an absolute hoax being perpetuated by not only the likes of Bill Gates and the WEF, but the Pope himself, who now says for the purposes of environmental reasons you should stop consuming meat. Well, I would rather take the advice of the Lord and Creator of this universe and maybe stick to some of the foods he recommended, including meat, fish, fruits, vegetables, and bread. So just wanted to bring that to your attention, guys. Let's pay close attention to what happens in Sri Lanka and the Netherlands, obviously over the coming weeks and months. And when, you know, we see this come to Canada, don't be surprised. You were warned right here today on this channel. So just wanted to bring all of this to your attention, guys. Once again, if you do appreciate my efforts to continuously just bring you this information, trying to, you know, counter the propaganda that's coming from the mainstream, don't forget to check me out at pressfortruth.ca/donate. Once again, if you appreciate my efforts. And that's all for today, guys. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Once again, don't forget to check the description to where you can find me at pressfortruth.ca. Be sure to click that thumbs up button. Share this video with your friends and family who you think need to see it the most. And stay tuned. We will have more video reports coming very soon. This is Dan Dix reporting for Press for Truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free.